Hello, I'm Liz Forte. I'm Health and Wellness Director at Compass UK and Ireland. At our last event, we explored the future of food and work with a focus on people, so really looking at physical and mental well-being. We explored the idea of building resilience through connections and how we can take that forward beyond COVID. Recently, Birkbeck University's Organisational Psychology Department have published a guide to managing your well-being at work. And the thing that really struck me is that giving back is in there. Giving back makes us feel good. We've all been doing much more of that recently, with shopping for neighbours, donating to food banks, supporting local businesses. So with that in mind, I'd like to shift our focus to purpose and sustainability and how that is connected to health and well-being and how we can take that forwards at work. As the way that we're working evolves, a really interesting conversation is emerging about the changing nature of capitalism. So from people striving to be the best in the world to being the best for the world. And I think there's a real revolution as key stakeholders are really understanding that sustainability is as big a business issue as profitability. Purpose is part of this conversation, and much like the race to appear more green, there's lots of purpose washing going on right now, as firms are doing this to tick CSR boxes, but there is increasing evidence to suggest that having a strong sense of purpose does improve the bottom line. Take the rise in the B Corp movement, a community of leaders using businesses as a force for good by balancing profit with purpose. Or the Patagonia brand, they increased sales by running a campaign called Don't Buy, actively encouraging consumers to really think about what they were buying in the craziness of Black Friday. And we're also seeing an increase in consumers choosing to support social enterprises. I know at Compass, this is a subject that's really close to our hearts. We're already working with over 20 social enterprises and are continuing to build relationships in this space. This change in attitude to sustainability and purpose runs across the generations. For Generation Z, it's all about people before profits, with 60% wanting to change the world compared to 39% of millennials. Gen Z take it as a given, so we should remember that having a clear purpose with meaning and fulfillment whilst making a tangible difference is a key driver in attracting and retaining talent. The increasing desire to connect with businesses that have a clear purpose and a planet-positive mindset stretches down to what we choose to eat. Our Global Eating at Work survey showed a really marked difference across the generations with attitudes to sustainable meals, with under 30s choosing more vegan options. But you don't have to be vegan or vegetarian to have a positive impact on the planet. There's an increase in plant-based, that's been hard to miss, and the meat-free alternatives are popular not just with vegans and vegetarians, but with flexitarians as well. There are 45 million flexitarians in the UK and only 5 million vegetarians and vegans. Following elements of a plant-based diet is widely acknowledged to be beneficial both for you and for the planet. But the important thing to note is that even meat eaters can follow a sustainable diet. The interesting thing for me is that people are choosing to be flexitarian, and flexitarianism is a mainstream group, so it covers all ages and social classes, and it's an attitude and a mindset, not just a label. Sustainable nutrition has become a hot topic, an approach that optimises health and nutritional outcomes whilst restoring the key ecosystems and farming livelihoods on which we depend. Our industry is changing the way it thinks about the way we use food. I like the cradle-to-cradle concept by McDonough and Braungart, designing everything with a future use in mind, so waste becomes food. Our brilliant chef Ryan is a pioneer of stop food waste, and working with him, I've really thought a lot about what I'm wasting and actually how you can take a lot of things that you typically throw in the bin and incorporate it into a really delicious recipe. And as we look to the future, it might be that we all aim for carbon neutral menus. UK grown seasonal produce is an important part of that. And as our farmers who supply our restaurants nationwide tell us, it's all about sustainable processes to achieve sustainable growth. I know that some suppliers are starting to use blockchain technology to show full traceability along the supply chain. So for a category like coffee, for example, at the point of purchase, you'd be able to see exactly where your coffee came from, how much the farmer got paid, and the carbon footprint of the product. It's a really nice, easy way to help consumers make sustainable choices and give back. But it's not just about where the food comes from. The happier and healthier we are, the more productive we can be. And we do know that even in normal times, absence through ill health costs UK businesses £91 billion per year. A 2019 study on Britain's healthiest workplaces showed that 3/4 of these absences were caused by unhealthy lifestyle choices and poor mental health. So how we address this is really important. We need sustainable solutions that enhance daily lives and don't really preach at people or make them feel that they need to choose. Areas to focus on from a sustainability perspective: reducing food waste through creative recipes and better food preservation, developing food waste recipes that appeal to purpose-driven consumers and highlighting these recipes on the menu. Setting targets for each restaurant to encourage consumers to help reduce food waste. Pre-portioned meals. As we return to work in the new world, food will be pre-portioned or served rather than self-served, which will reduce food waste. Local sourcing. Supporting local businesses and communicating this to our customers. Recycling. Making it easier to recycle with clearer communications to reduce the impact of disposables and plastics. Power of the community. Celebrate our communities and local heroes. Food redistribution. Partner with charities and food redistribution networks and create opportunities for volunteering. There's been much talk about working from home in the future of the office. According to Birkbeck, one of the key elements that we miss when we work from home is the informal communication. Now, rather than being a distraction or a nice to have, these informal communications, they're the social glue that keep us all together and are actually essential in helping you to build teams and manage relationships effectively. So if we're not all in a lift or waiting for a coffee together, we could miss out on these vital informal connections, I guess, and that could present a real risk to us working effectively. So whilst an organisation might save money on travel and office space, for example, if they move to a home working pattern, there are potentially some hidden costs that could come with recruiting new employees if the existing ones leave because they feel disenfranchised. How it feels to be part of a company really matters. A recent article in Forbes stated that millennials are now choosing to join an organisation based on culture ahead of pay. Key elements include health and wellbeing programmes, healthcare provision, flexible workspaces fuelled by great food and good coffee. That's also a major draw. Even in more traditional offices, being part of something bigger has real appeal. According to Jane Clay of architecture and design firm Gensler, even those who work from home want the option to come into the workplace. It's the camaraderie, the sense of engagement. Going forwards, we need to think about the spaces we're in and how we future-proof them. A sustainable office doesn't just mean an efficient one from a heating and air purifying perspective. So what does the future workplace look like? Nature, technology and community are all becoming increasingly important. WeWork predicts we'll move away from open plan completely and towards cellularisation, different sized spaces that can be reconfigured. Elliot Postma, partner at Heatherwick Studio, agrees. He says, "It was previously thought that full collaboration was best, but there are introverts and extroverts and offices need to accommodate both." Whilst we need quiet spaces, integrating a sense of community is really important. And ultimately, we're looking at a shift towards workspaces that prioritise employee well-being over profitability. Overall, when we look to the future of working, we can see that change is being driven by businesses, employees and consumers. And organisations need to consider 3 basic psychological needs in their approach to purpose and sustainability. Giving people freedom and control over their choices. Right now, where many of us feel more restricted than ever, this sense of autonomy is really important. Giving people a perceived choice in relation to their environment, what they eat, and the impact these choices have on others. Developing a sense of belonging, making sure colleagues feel connected, valued, and supported by others. Although we need to be physically distanced from others, we do not need to be socially distanced. Broadly speaking, we need to be receiving both informational and emotional support in our workplaces, instilling a sense of competence among the workforce, that even in these uncertain times we can still get things done, that we can still learn and develop. No one could have predicted that we'd find ourselves in this situation, but I do believe we've learned some fundamental lessons that we don't want to unlearn or forget. So in this context, looking at purpose and sustainability is really important. And that's something that we're doing with our clients, looking at their cafes and restaurants and helping them to provide more sustainable choices that will help their employees to feel a sense of belonging and giving back, promoting health and happiness for the future.